Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing?
First Lady, I'm her husband. Second Gentleman, Chief Justice, members of the United States Congress and the Cabinet, distinguished guests, my fellow Americans. While the setting tonight is familiar, this gathering is just a little bit different. A reminder of the extraordinary times we're in. Throughout our history, presidents have come to this chamber to speak to Congress, to the nation, and to the world, to declare war, to celebrate peace, to announce new plans and possibilities. Tonight, I come to talk about crisis and opportunity, about rebuilding the nation, revitalizing our democracy, and winning the future for America. I stand here tonight, one day shy of the 100th day of my administration. 100 days since I took the oath of office and lifted my hand off our family Bible and inherited a nation we all did that was in crisis.
I've never been one to complain about fake news, but I want to start with the total frustration I have with the coverage that most of you have engaged in with regard to the issue of expanding the Supreme Court. The two most important liberals in the judicial system in recent decades, Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Stephen Breyer, have both said within the last 2 years that 9 is the right number, that Supreme Court packing discredits the courts. And yet I read story after story after story on this issue that do not mention that Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Stephen Breyer, the two most important liberals of modern times, are opposed to court packing. So why don't you include in these objective analysis of this issue that fact? Secondly, on infrastructure, Senator Capito and others in our conference are continuing to work on an infrastructure bill that we think is about what is traditionally considered infrastructure: roads, bridges, ports, broadband, and in the hope that we can convince the majority in the House and Senate to focus on this issue in a way that is more modest than this multi-trillion-dollar bill, which is a Trojan horse for revisiting the 2017 tax bill and raising the debt even more. So I think there is a pool of people on a bipartisan basis, certainly here in the Senate, looking to get to an outcome on infrastructure, which would involve a more modest amount, targeted at what all of us can agree is in fact infrastructure, and hopefully I'd like to see a credible way.
There's perhaps no one I'd rather talk to about the Republicans' supposed anti-corporate turn than independent Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Senator Bernie Sanders, good to have you. You have been a critic of corporate power for a very long time, and so I have to imagine you feel very excited to have all these who are going to link arms with you, seriously take on corporate power in America from the Republican side.
It is just extraordinary, Chris. Imagine that after $1 trillion of tax breaks, the large corporations, after lowering the corporate tax rate, after protecting the pharmaceutical industry from charging us by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, et cetera, Mitch McConnell and his friends are very upset that some corporations are now saying that it is an outrage that in Georgia, they are trying to destroy democracy and make it harder for people of color and low-income people to vote. Look, all of this is nothing more than a deflection, and you made that point well, a deflection against the reality that all over this country, what Republicans are doing is trying to protect their interests by making it harder for people who might be voting against them to participate in the political process. That means minorities. That means young people, people who are not sympathetic to their right-wing agenda. And our job is, among other things, to pass H.R. 1, an important piece of legislation which says that in America, if you are 18 years of age, no matter what they do in Georgia or any place else, you got the right to vote. Right. That we get rid of. We finally move forward to address Citizens United. And by the way, as you know, Mitch McConnell was the biggest Senate defender of Citizens United and the ability of corporations to buy elections.
It's an amazing thing to watch Mitch McConnell, of all people, who said himself, he was the named plaintiff to sue against McCain-Feingold. He was the biggest pusher of Citizens United. He has been, as a first principle, believed that corporate right to speak in the election sphere is sacrosanct. For him to say CEOs stay out of politics, it's an astonishing sentence for that man of all people to utter.
Well, Chris, we no longer use the word astonishing in Washington, D.C. Clearly, our Republican friends now are going to do everything they can in every way to try to win elections. And that certainly includes excessive gerrymandering, and it includes making it harder for people to vote. And we have got to be extremely aggressive. I can't think of any issue more important than making sure that Americans can vote and participate in the political process.
I want to, just to be sort of slightly more serious here about the sort of Republican politics on sort of corporations, right? It is sort of interesting and strange to me. So this is not coming from some place of a vision of political economy like I think criticisms that you've leveled at, say, Amazon or Walmart is coming from. You know, you had Marco Rubio, right? So you've got the big Amazon unionization drive. You've been very outspoken in support of it. Marco Rubio basically writing this column essentially saying, I don't really like unions, and I tend to side with corporations over them, but because Amazon's cultural politics or because their pronouncements are bad and I don't like them, I now support the union, sort of. And you're seeing more and more of this idea that Republicans should use the mechanisms and levers of regulation or the state to explicitly punish certain kinds of speech or interventions politically by corporations. What do you think of that?
Well, I'll tell you what I think. I take a little bit different take. I think the Republican Party now, at least certain leaders of the party, are trying to pretend that they are a party of the working class. Mm-hmm. That's what they're trying to do. And obviously that is total nonsense. What they are trying to do is appeal to working class people in terms of racial politics, in terms of homophobic politics, in terms of xenophobic politics. And what our job is, which takes me to what we're trying to do with reconciliation here, is we have got to, the Democrats loudly and proudly have got to be the party of the working class of this country. We have got to be prepared, in fact, to take on the greed of corporate America. We need to be passing a second reconciliation bill, which deals not only with physical infrastructure and creating millions of good-paying jobs. Chris, we need to deal with human infrastructure, healthcare, education, climate change, making sure that every kid in this country gets the quality education he or she needs, does not leave school deeply in debt. And one of the issues I'm working on in this new reconciliation package is the need to expand Medicare to cover dental care, hearing aids, and eyeglasses, because millions of seniors cannot afford those basic health care needs. I want to lower Medicare eligibility age to 60 so a whole lot of more people can get into that important program.
When President Obama was first elected and there was a number of there were a number of big legislative lifts on the table, I feel like as an observer of that process, as somebody reporting on that process, I learned a lesson.
Yes.
I watched with Obamacare, With the Affordable Care Act, the Republicans insisted that there not be any single-payer option, there not be a public option,
Right.
had to be based around the private insurance companies, and they insisted on all these changes that were made for them, and then they didn't vote for it anyway.
Right.
And on the immigration bill, they insisted that their priority, deportations, all that be done up front. President Obama did all that up front, and then they still didn't vote for it. We saw it on the Recovery Act as well. They insisted that the Recovery Act be made smaller and significantly less effective, and then they didn't vote for it anyway.
10 years it took to get, because it wasn't deep enough and strong enough. 10 years. We're not going to make that mistake with COVID.
But isn't the lesson there that it's not worth trying to get bipartisan legislation because it will weaken it and make it worse, and they're never going to vote for it anyway?
Our North Star has to be the legislation itself. It has to be big and bold and strong. If Republicans work with us to get good, strong legislation, yes. But I agree with you. I've made these arguments in numerous places. Look at 2008, where we spent 1.5 years trying to get something good done, ACA, Obamacare, and we didn't do all the other things that had to be done. We will not repeat that mistake. We will not repeat that mistake. You are right. I think of just what you think all along. And it's a different time. I mean, we've had the most authoritarian president around. Look how close he came on that awful day, January 6th. And the antidote is constructive, strong action by us, by the government. That's the answer, so that when the appeals to bigotry and nastiness and divisiveness are thrown at the American people again, which Trump did, and there are many of his minions who want to do it, people will say, no, we're making good progress. Let's stick with this. But if we don't make progress, bad, we can have really bad solutions, really bad outcomes, rather.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top
Don't do it.
And breaking news.
It's a
and
trap.
Catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows.
Admiral Akbar says it's a trap.
Download the NBC News app today.
The CIA says. Free thinking, not innovative, not open-minded. Y'all, welcome to Tommy Nation Politics.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today?
How is everybody doing today? Y'all good? I hope so. We're in the middle of a crisis, but an opportunity. Don't ever let a good crisis go to waste.
For the hour, we welcome the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump. Mr. President, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you very much, Sean.
All right, so I know a lot of people that are around you every day. This is what they're all telling me. You are working as hard as you did when you were in the White House, except you play a little golf more. That you're keeping an insane schedule, 7 days a week. You really don't stop.
Well, we're seeing a lot of people. We're seeing a lot of good Republicans and a lot of good Americans, in some cases great Americans, and we are working very hard. And a lot of things to do, plus I'm getting more involved. For a long time, years, I wasn't involved in the business. I'm more involved in the business. We'll see what I do with respect to that, but the business is doing well, and we're doing well. It's been 5.5 years of investigations and hoaxes, and I see something came out just yesterday about the Russia was a total phony deal, and they hate to admit it, but intelligence came out.
They were putting a bounty on the
bounty,
heads.
the big bounty deal, and now they say that it was a hoax, just like everything else. So it's a sad thing. You get impeached for doing nothing wrong, then you get a second impeachment for doing nothing wrong. And so it's been pretty wild when you think about it, but very unfair, very hard. And I think you're going to see something that will start to take place too, and will culminate in 24. And you're going to see a lot of big things and great things for the Republican Party and for the country. When you look at the border and all of the things that are going wrong right now, aim at the border.
Let's start with Joe Biden. Now, I get criticized because the Joe Biden I see now, I can show you tapes of him in 2016. I could show you tapes of him in 2012. And to me, he looks extraordinarily weak, frail. I think it's very transparent. He's struggling cognitively. He usually averages less as we follow his schedule very closely, less than one event a day. What do you see? How do you grade him 3 months in?
So he's going to be 79 years old. That is not old. I know many people in their late 80s that are just as good as they were years ago. I spoke to one who's 92 years old. He said, I feel better than I did 20 years ago. 78, 79 is not old. But he, look, I don't think it's even appropriate for me to comment on that. It's sort of speaks for itself, and people can make their own determination. I know that if it were me, they would be up and down going crazy, right? But I had an instance where on a slippery ramp, piece of steel, very steep and very long, no railings, no nothing, and it was this point. And the last thing I want to do is go down, because when Gerald Ford went down, it was not good. Now, when Biden went down, the press didn't cover it. I mean, if you look at...
Well, in fairness, his aide said that the wind, it was very windy, the wind might have blown him over. Did the wind ever blow you over when you
were... Air Force One is a very big plane, and usually what they try and do is shield the wind. You know, when they park it, you can turn it at angles, and so you never have too much. I've never seen too much wind. You can get a little windy, but not the kind of wind that blows you over. But if you look at mainstream media, or as you say, lamestream media, they didn't cover that. If that were a Republican, in particular, if it was me, that would be the biggest story for the rest of the year.
But let me ask the question from this perspective, because there are hostile regimes and many hostile actors on the world stage. You got a hostile regime in Russia, hostile actor Vladimir Putin, hostile regime in China, President Xi, you dealt with him a lot.
I know.
Kim Jong-un, the mullahs in Iran, looks like Joe's already capitulated on that. Now, you know them well enough. I'm sure they're studying Joe Biden. Knowing what you know, things that I wouldn't know, are you concerned about their perception of an American president that seems somewhat frail and weak?
Well, something's going on, because they never did this with me, that I can tell you. Nobody was tougher on Russia. And frankly, getting along with Vladimir Putin,
they never did a lot of things with you,
and
Trump.
I got along with them very well. The relationship was
Trump,
very
the tone's
good, very
completely
strong.
changed.
But they
It's a
never
180 thing,
encircled Ukraine.
You don't understand.
And they never,
This guy,
in Taiwan,
he's continuing
China,
all your policies.
They never sent warships
and he's
all over
almost
the place
like you
they're
in
doing
every
now.
way.
It looks very serious going on
But
with Taiwan.
the Republicans
that's a long
think
way away. That's 9,000
he's
miles
horrible
away. They're right
and
next
a socialist.
To it. That's like,
and you,
it's like very close.
mainstream media hated you.
So now
So all of the numbnuts,
something's going
idiot,
on with Taiwan. Something maybe
ass
is going on with Ukraine.
fools
This never was a big
follow
subject
like
when I was
sheep.
president.
They're stupid parties.
As far as North Korea is
Are all
concerned, I
twisted
have a
and
great
turned around.
relationship with
That's the only difference.
a certain man that's got
But
great
other than
power
that, nothing
over
has fundamentally
North Korea.
changed, Trumpy.
And
Other
you
than
take a
that,
look at Kim Jong-un and the
everything
relationship that I developed. That's
is
a good thing, not a
is all
bad
the
thing.
same.
Getting along with President Putin is a
It's not
great
your fault,
thing.
though.
You know, we should be doing business
You
with
do you.
Russia. We should be getting along with Russia instead of forcing Russia to go into the hands of China. The worst thing you could do is put China and Russia together, and they're together, and they get forced together. The Russian hoax was very, very bad for the relationship that we would have with Russia. But I got along well with Putin. I got along well with President Xi until COVID came in, or the China virus, or whatever you want to call it. When that came in, it was a hold. But we made a great trade deal. Our farmers are making more money than they've ever made. Wheat prices are the highest they've ever been. They're doing great because China is buying so much. This was the trade deal that we made. But after COVID, trade just didn't seem that important to me, and we did other things. But it was too bad.
It was the first time two women, the Vice President of the United States and the Speaker of the House, sat behind the President as he delivered his address to the nation. It sent the message to girls and women that beyond the sky is the limit. We would say the sky is the limit years ago, but now with the technology that we see, there is no limit. The President's speech reflected that message. It's one thing to have two women there. It's remarkable, actually, I say immodestly. But what's really important about the night is what the President said in his speech. It was a triumph for women. Women at home, women in the workplace. Equal pay for equal work. paid family and medical leave, affordable child care, universal pre-K. I love that because it's children learning, parents earning. Men and women, but largely women as caregivers. The Violence Against Women Act that he urged the passage of in the Senate, and many other initiatives for women. The list goes on. This address was a recognition that we can only build back better with the fuller participation of women in our economy. So I indeed thought it was a triumph for women. This is an ambitious...
The worst pandemic in a century. The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. Now, after just 100 days, I can report to the nation, America is on the move again.
Yippee!
Think about it. There is simply no reason why the blades for wind turbines can't be built in Pittsburgh instead of Beijing.
Look, Fat.
No reason.
You don't these truths to be self-evident.
None.
All men are created in the...
That's what people...
You know the thing. You know the thing.
Independent experts estimate the American Jobs Plan will add trillions of dollars to economic growth in the years to come. It is a 8-year program. These are good-paying jobs that can't be outsourced. Nearly 90% of the infrastructure jobs created in the American Jobs Plan do not require a college degree. 75% don't require an associate's degree. The American Jobs Plan is a blue-collar blueprint to build America. That's what it is. We can do that. And we'll increase Pell Grants and invest in historical black colleges and universities, tribal colleges, minority-serving institutions. The reason is they don't have the endowments. But their students are just as capable of learning about cybersecurity, just as capable of learning about metallurgy, all the things that are going on that provide those jobs of the future. Jill is a community college professor who teaches today as First Lady. She's long said,
Yay, women! Women.
The most hard-pressed working families won't have to spend a dime. Third, the American Families Plan will finally provide up to 12 weeks of paid leave and medical leave, family medical leave. In addition to my family's plan, I'm going to work with Congress to address this year other critical priorities for American families. The Affordable Care Act has been a lifeline for millions of Americans, protecting people with pre-existing conditions, protecting women's health, and the pandemic has demonstrated how badly it's needed. Let's lower deductibles for working families on the Affordable Care Act. And let's lower prescription drug costs. We know how to do this. The last president had that as an objective. We all know how outrageously expensive drugs are in America. In fact, we pay the highest prescription drug prices of anywhere in the world, right here in America. Nearly 3 times the drugs what other countries. We have to change that, and we can. Let's do what we talked about for all the years I was down here in this body, in Congress. Let's give Medicare the power to save hundreds of billions of dollars by negotiating lower drug prescription prices. By the way, it won't just help people on Medicare. Lower prescription drug costs for everyone. And the money we save, which is billions of dollars, can go to strengthen the Affordable Care Act and expand Medicare coverage benefits without costing taxpayers an additional penny. It's within our power to do it. Let's do it now. We've talked about it long enough. Democrats and Republicans, let's get it done this year. This is all about a simple premise. Health care should be a right, not a privilege in America. So, how do we pay for my jobs and family plan?
How are you going to pay for it?
I made it clear we can do it without increasing the deficit. Let's start with what I will not do. I will not impose any tax increase on making less than $400,000.
We will not live in a racial jungle.
But it's time for corporate America and the wealthiest 1% of Americans to just begin to pay their fair share. Just their fair share. Sometimes I have arguments with my friends in the Democratic Party. I think you should be able to become a billionaire and a millionaire, but pay your fair share. A recent study shows that 55 of the nation's biggest corporations paid zero federal tax last year. Those 55 corporations made in excess of $40 billion in profit. A lot of companies also evade taxes through tax havens in Switzerland and Bermuda and the Cayman Islands. And they benefit from tax loopholes and deductions for offshoring jobs and shifting profits overseas. It's not right. We're going to reform corporate taxes so they pay their fair share and help pay for the public investments their businesses will benefit from as well. We're going to reward work, not just wealth. We take the top tax bracket for the wealthiest 1% of Americans, those making over $400,000 or more, back up to where it was when George W. Bush was president, when he started.
Yay, George.
39.6%. That's where it was when George W. was president. We're going to get rid of the loophole, allow Americans to make more than $1 million a year and pay a lower tax rate on their capital gains than Americans who receive a paycheck. We're only going to affect 0.3% of all Americans by that action, 0.3%. And the IRS is going to crack down on millionaires and billionaires who cheat on their taxes. It's estimated to be billions of dollars by think tanks of left, right, and center. I'm not looking to punish anybody. But I will not add a tax burden, additional tax burden to the middle class in this country. They're already paying enough. I believe what I propose is fair, fiscally responsible, and it raises revenue to pay for the plans I propose and will create millions of jobs that will grow the economy and enhance our financial standing in the country. When you hear someone say they don't want to raise taxes on the wealthiest 1% or corporate America, ask them whose taxes you want to raise. Instead, whose are going to cut? Look, the big tax cut of 2017. Remember, it was supposed to pay for itself. That was how it was sold. And generate vast economic growth. Instead, it added $2 trillion to the deficit. It was a huge windfall for corporate America and those at the very top. Instead of using the tax saving to raise wages and invest in research and development, it poured billions of dollars into the pockets of CEOs. In fact, the pay gap between CEOs and their workers is now among the largest in history. According to one study, CEOs make 320 times what the average worker in their corporation makes. It used to be in below 100. The pandemic has only made things worse. 20 million Americans lost their job in the pandemic, working and middle-class Americans. At the same time, roughly 650 billionaires in America saw their net worth increase by more than $1 trillion in the same exact period. Let me say it again. 650 people increased their wealth by more than $1 trillion during this pandemic. And they're now worth more than $4 trillion. My fellow Americans, trickle down economics has never worked. And it's time to grow the economy from the bottom and the middle out.
Welcome, Dingus Nutbrain.
You know,
I love that
shit. There's a broad consensus of economists left, right, and center, and they agree what I'm proposing will help create millions of jobs and generate historic economic growth. These are among the highest values investments we can make as a nation. I've often said our greatest strength is the power of our example, not just the example of our power.
He's never said.
My conversations with world leaders, and I've spoken to over 38, 40 of them now, I've made it known that America's back. And you know what they say? The comment I hear most of all from them? So they say, we see America's back, but for how long? But for how long? My fellow Americans, we have to show not just that we're back, but that we're back to stay. And that we aren't going to go it alone. We're going to do it by leading with our allies. No one nation can deal with all the crises of our time, from terrorism to nuclear proliferation, mass migration, cybersecurity, climate change, as well as experiencing what we're experiencing now, the pandemics. There's no wall high enough to keep any virus out. And our own vaccine supply, as it grows to meet our needs, and we're meeting them, will become an arsenal for vaccines for other countries, just as America is an arsenal for democracy for the world, and in consequence influence the world. But every American will have access before that occurs. Every American will have access to be fully covered by COVID-19 from the vaccines we have. Look, the climate crisis is not our fight alone, it's a global fight. The United States accounts, as all of you know, less than 15% of carbon emissions. The rest of the world accounts for 85%. That's why I kept my commitment to rejoin the Paris Accord, because if we do everything perfectly, it's not going to only matter. I kept my commitment to convene a climate summit right here in America with all the major economies of the world: China, Russia, India, European Union. And I said I'd do it in my first 100 days. I want to be very blunt about it. I had my attempt was to make sure that the world could see there was a consensus, that we are at an inflection point in history. The consensus is if we act to save the planet, we can create millions of jobs and economic growth and opportunity to raise the standard of living of almost everyone around the world. If you watched any of it and you were all busy, I'm sure you didn't have much time. That's what virtually every nation said, even the ones that aren't doing their fair share. The investments I propose tonight also advance the foreign policy, in my view, that benefits the middle class. That means making sure every nation plays by the same rules in the global economy, including China. In my discussion with President Xi, I told him, we welcome the competition. We're not looking for conflict. But I made absolutely clear that we will defend America's interest across the board. America will stand up to unfair trade practices that undercut American workers and American industries, like subsidies from state to state-owned operations and enterprises, and the theft of American technology and intellectual property. I also told President Xi that we'll maintain a strong military presence in the Indo-Pacific, just as we do with NATO and Europe, not to start a conflict, but to prevent one.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to Tommy Nation Politics. Tommy Nation Politics. Please like, share, subscribe this video. Make sure that you go to www.tommynation.politics.com. If you want to share my videos, get some notifications on my videos. If you do need help, guys, you can always donate to PayPal or Cash App. Tommy Nation Politics, one word. Capital T, capital N, capital P. That'll help us get resources to fight the empire, because when darkness rises, light must meet it. It's part of a two-part series. Yesterday we talked about Hillary Clinton, we talked about Nancy Pelosi. Two of the most entitled, selfish, spoiled brats of our government. I'm not just trying to pick on the women. There's also plenty of men that are to blame too. Mitch McConnell, Donald J. Trump. It's been a tumultuous, turbulent time. But we're back. We're back, guys. Did you just hear Joe Biden? Said we're back. And so is Tommy Nation Politics. Dingus Mudbrain, welcome to the show. Doctor, welcome to the show. Haven't seen check you out in a while. Come on back, check you out. Veronica, where you at? We need to talk. We need to build back better. But instead of building back better the white supremacist social order, we should probably try to build back something else, something more. Maybe guys. Maybe we, hear me out. Maybe we try to build something new. Maybe if the mattress is shitty and pissed on, if the mattress is, bolded, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we get a new mattress. What do you guys think? No, we maintain the old mattress, even though it's shitted and pissed on, because it's part of our traditions and heritage. What do you guys think about that? You guys like shitty mattresses because it's part of our traditional heritage? Well, guys, Joe Biden does. He thinks America's back because there's no quit in America. Do some push-ups. Look fat. Touting the American Rescue Plan, vaccination numbers, and established vaccine sites. He's got diversity in there with women. Let me say that again, guys. Women. One more time. Women. It's here for women. Woo, woo, woo. Women. God damn it. Well, Joe, I'm glad you like women. Tara Reid says you like women too. So it's one thing that y'all can agree on, right? Can't agree on anything else. The most important word when it comes to the climate crisis is jobs. Jobs. I don't know what that means, but someone can tell me in the chat. The most important word that when it comes to the climate crisis is jobs. What does jobs have to do with the... It's a question. Because maybe it does. I don't know everything. Maybe jobs have to do with climate change. You know what really does have to do with climate change? All of these pollution-ridden corporations that are dumping in the oceans probably has to do with it. You know what else has to do with climate change? Probably the shitty gasoline-ridden cars that other countries are making. I feel like we actually don't contribute that much to climate change, guys. I feel like the other countries that don't give a shit, like the Chinese Communist Party of China, the China virus, I feel like they've got more to contribute to climate change. What do y'all think about that? I don't know, guys, but let me tell you. Women, blacks, gays, whatever you say. The CIA has something to say to you, too. Let me get this video. This is a message from the CIA, guys.
Guayaquil de mis amores in Spanish. I can change it. Was 17, I had no idea what life would bring, but Sora's sentiment articulated so beautifully how I felt as a daughter of immigrants then and now. Nothing about me was or is tragic. I am perfectly made. I can wax eloquent on complex legal issues in English while also belting Guayaquil de mis amores in Spanish. I can change a diaper with one hand and console a crying toddler with the other. I am a woman of color. I am a mom. I am a cisgender millennial who's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I am intersectional, but my existence is not a box-checking exercise. I am a walking declaration, a woman whose inflection does not rise at the end of her sentences, suggesting that a question has been asked. I did not sneak into CIA. My employment was not and is not the result of a fluke or slip through the cracks. I earned my way in, and I earned my way up the ranks of this organization. I am educated, qualified, and competent, and sometimes I struggle. I struggle feeling like I could do more, be more to my two sons, and I struggle leaving the office when I feel there's so much more to do. I used to struggle with imposter syndrome, but at 36, I refuse to internalize misguided patriarchal ideas of what a woman can or should be. I am tired of feeling like I'm supposed to apologize for the space I occupy rather than intoxicate people with my effort, my brilliance. I am proud of me, full stop. My parents left everything they knew and loved to expose me to opportunities they never had. Because of them, I stand here today a proud first-generation Latina and officer at CIA. I am unapologetically me. I want you to be unapologetically you, whoever you are. Know your worth. Command your space.
Did you guys see Kyle Kalinski's face? Yeah, I stole that from Secular Talk, bro. Dude, Kyle, you did a great fucking segment on that. Y'all go to Secular Talk. Oh my God! Even the CIA is. I mean, they've already like literally been using identity politics and wokeness when it comes to the fucking MSNBC, CNN. What are they using now? The big lie. They're using all kinds of stupid woke ass jerk ass terms. Now they're just outright trying to fucking recruit you. At least they're trying to recruit Latina women. What do you Latina women think of that? That they're using your fucking heritage and your gender to recruit for the CIA. You know the CIA, the organization that tried to assassinate Fidel Castro about 20 times in one summer with the Bay of Pigs. You know the CIA who literally overthrew the government of Iran and installed the puppet Shah. You know the CIA who infected our drinking water and put LSD in it, did human social experimentation under the radar, making people commit suicide, giving people depression, just so they could figure out how we fucking tick. You know the CIA, guys, our Central Intelligence Agency, the agency that lied us in a war, that gave what's his name, Colin Powell, all the information. You know those cells, those little trucks with the weapons of mass destruction, guys. Y'all remember those? Remember the little cartoons that Colin Powell had when he was going to the UN, trying to get fucking the war going on? Oh, we need to get in the war. Turns out nothing was going on. There was no weapons of mass destruction. You know those guys, the CIA. No, but see now, guys, now they want Latino women. So isn't it good? Isn't it good, guys? Let me ask you guys, what is a crisis? The pandemic was a crisis. The pandemic was a crisis, wasn't it? I mean, we were locked at home. I think even more than the pandemic being a crisis, this is my sermon here. Sermon on the Mount, guys. I think maybe an even bigger crisis than Trump and the pandemic. Joe. Let's remember how this pandemic began. Everybody was lying. Fauci lied and said we shouldn't have a mask. Then he said we should have a mask. That caused the political divide right there. That did. When Fauci lied, a doctor that Trump actually, he was in the Trump administration, right? He lied. Then we heard that Trump tried to cover it up. Then Joe Biden was blaming all of the problems on Trump, and no one was telling us the truth. That caused a crisis. That caused division and divisive rhetoric. When everyone in the government who swears to defend us against threats, foreign and domestic, they lied. And this is not the first time, guys. They lie all the time. It's so frustrating. They lied us into war. They lied about the pandemic. They're lying now. If we don't have a government that works for all of us and not the few, then you're going to get a crisis all the time. And the only opportunity is for the elites and for the people who are lying. And that's why they're lying. They want to take advantage of an opportunity. They don't want to let a good crisis go to waste. It's not our opportunity. We're not back. We're not touting diversity. Diversity is not something that works for us. It's the only thing that diversity works for, guys, is the 1% that own more wealth than the bottom 90% combined. That's sad to say. Those are the only groups of people that diversity works for. Joe Biden, we are in extraordinary times. Life can knock us down. But in America, we never, ever stay down. Well, guys, I know people that have stayed down for generations. I know people that have been redlined, that were working for minimum wage and couldn't make a living wage. You think Joe couldn't make a living wage? No. Joe is taking money from the military-industrial complex, the banks, and Wall Street. Joe didn't stay down. Joe didn't stay down when he gave all resolution and powers of war to George W. Bush. He didn't stay down. So, guys, who do you think they're talking to when they make little comments like this? When they talk about diversity? Is it you? Do you really think they're talking about you? And how do you think that? Please come on the show and talk to me about that. How are you suffering these delusions of grandeur? Why are you suffering these delusions? Everyone who votes for the Republicans and the Democrats is delusional. And Tommy Nation politics is the fucking best part of waking up. It's Folgers in your cup. Guys, there's retaliation going on with the Trump administration. There's things that you don't even know about happening. There's things behind the scenes. There's deep fucking shit going on. Rudy Giuliani will let you know that. Rudy, what's going on, Bugatti? Let's check in with Rudy Giuliani. He's always got some fun shit to say. Rudy! Where you at, Rudy? Rudy.
With Rudy Giuliani's evolution on the federal raid of his apartment and office in what looks to be an intensifying, escalating, and serious criminal probe against one of the greatest advocates and former lawyers for the former president. Giuliani back in front of cameras, running to Fox News like he's done many times before representing Trump. And just as he's done for his own client when he was in legal trouble, now Giuliani's pulling the same problem for himself, making things worse when he talks to Fox. We've said it before, but if it's true, I will say it again to you. Rudy gonna Rudy. This time, he's trying to defend himself.
May 1st is when I started representing Donald Trump.
Rudy.
So you can't say that their main interest wasn't Donald Trump. So just about the day that I begin representing him is the day they go invade my iCloud. So try telling somebody that it wasn't to get the material on Donald Trump.
That might sound somewhat reasonable, depending on how suspicious you are of the government. But who are they? He's talking about this starting back during the Trump administration. They are Trump appointees, including one of the most devoted, politically loyal, and controversial attorneys general in American history, Bill Barr, who had to sign off on aspects of this investigation, who may have slow-walked parts of it. But at the end of the day, they, Rudy, is you, Trump people, Trump lawyers. This is a shift, of course, from Giuliani. His legal team first called the raid and the feds operating it as professional the first day that this news broke. Then he went on to saying the raid was, quote, out of control, and even claimed that it was the investigators committing crimes, making the high-profile, very controversial allegation that they're somehow framing him. He said that without evidence. Now we see it take another step. He's saying this isn't just wrong or out of control. He's saying it's all an illicit and potentially illegal act to go get Donald Trump. To be clear, there's not evidence for what Rudy Giuliani is claiming. But if it were true that this was an effort to bother him to get someone else, well, you can get in a lot of trouble at the FBI or DOJ for doing that. Now, then he was asked about the New York Times report about the firing a former U.S. Ambassador Yovanovitch at the center of this probe.
I was representing the President of the United States. The whole world knew that. The whole world knew it. And this is totally done because they want to destroy my credibility.
Credibility. Well, you know how we do it in here. We'll show you the facts. We'll show you what Giuliani said over time, some of what he's done over time, and you can decide how credible you think he is. But as a former prosecutor, Giuliani understands the feds need evidence of a crime, not just theories and allegations about one of his clients. What we do know is that a team is scouring those many phones and computers they obtained from him. We know that Giuliani's lawyer and advisor, Alan Dershowitz, wants Donald Trump to claim a wide sweeping privilege over any electronic evidence, which could complicate or at least delay the Fed's effort from using that in this case. Meanwhile today, Giuliani's allies also want Donald Trump to fork up for that legal defense, given the $250 million Trump campaign war chest for an effort that, however ridiculous, was led by Rudy Giuliani. The bottom line, legal experts, including the former top prosecutor at that same Southern District, believe there is evidence to suggest Mr. Giuliani is in significant criminal trouble.
The factual framework, I think, looks really bad, Ori.
Rudy's in deep shit. Rudy's in deep shit, guys. Why is he deep shit? Worked for Donald J. Trump, of course. Donald J. Trump, not a smart guy. He wrote The Art of the Deal, or got a ghostwriter to write it. He's a rich guy. Half-asses everything. He called the media and the oligarchs, his friends that ran the country, like he ran the country when he donated to the Democratic Party, fake news, enemy of the people. What he didn't do was he didn't follow through on his, accusations, his alleged accusations. Did he destroy his enemies? No. So now his enemies are all around destroying him, going after his sons, his daughter, his businesses, his lawyers. It's a red fucking wedding, guys. Do I feel bad for the Trump administration? Not really. I think the only person who isn't being gone after right now, and she is, but by near attended and the think tank dogs of the establishment, who have never really been that effectual. They're just right-winger fucking think tanks. What has Neera Tanden really done that's been effectual? Do you guys still believe in the birther thing? Yeah, Neera Tanden started that. Neera Tanden started the whole birther thing, guys. She literally started it, and she worked for Hillary Clinton. She was about to be in the budget committee, and our President Barack Obama was the guy that she started that shit with. It's funny. So if you're in the club, guys, it doesn't matter if you're just like a stone cold liar, if you're a fucking creep, if you're just a fucking asshole. Like, you could still get a job in the government where you called the former president of the United States a Kenyan Muslim socialist. It doesn't matter. I'm sure he doesn't even care. It's not like Barack Obama had any principles or values. Did he? Not really. Tommy Nation Politics.